Hi, this is Vipin. Today's topic for the discussion is compiler. But before starting with compiler, we take a look over a more general term called translator. What is translator? Translator is a program that translates a program written in source code to the program in machine code. Now we will discuss about types of translator. Many types of translators are available. Some of them are compiler, interpreter, and assembler. One by one we will discuss about these three translators. Now the first type of translator is compiler. What is compiler? Compiler is a program or software that translates program written in high-level language, which is our source code, to the program in low-level language, or in other words we can say that, in machine code, that can be easily recognized by our machine or computer. And now the next type of translator is interpreter. What is interpreter? Actually, interpreter is also a program or software, like the compiler, and will do the same thing as compiler do, which means, it takes a program written in high-level language as input, and generates an output as a low-level language program, which is machine code, that can be easily understood by the computer. Now there is a question that will comes in our mind, is compiler and interpreter are same, or they are different with each other? Just because compiler and interpreter, both of them are taking high-level language program as input and generates low-level language code as output. So, are they similar? Our answer is no, they are not same. Their working principle is different. How they differ? Let's see. So the difference between compiler and interpreter is compiler, interpreter. First difference between compiler and interpreter is compiler translates the whole program, or entire source code, into machine code at once. While on the other hand, interpreter translates the source code into machine code, line by line. Let's see an example to better understand this difference. For this I am using online GDB compiler. Now we have this entire code in C language. I have intentionally placed some errors in this code for better understanding. Error at line number 4, just because I have not used comma separation between the declaration of two variable names x and y. Error at line number 6, because the statement is not terminated correctly, where I forget to type semicolon at the end of the statement. And error at line number 9, because of the incorrect position of double quotes, that has needs to be present before comma separation, which is the correct place. Let's see what happens when we are going to run this program. Now you can see here compiler have generates a list of errors. Error at line number 4 due to incorrect declaration of variable names. Error at line number 6 due to incorrect termination of statement. Error at line number 7 and 8 is just because of error at line number 6. And at last error at line number 9 because of incorrect position of double quotes. Now I am going to correct only one error, which is at line number 4. Let's see what happens. After recompiling that code, compiler generates the list of errors again. But this time it shows the error from line number 6, not from line number 4. But if there is no error at line number 4, so why compiler not prints hello world, which is at line number 5? Answer is because compiler translates the whole program at once. Which means it will not generate the machine code till all the errors in program have not been removed. So after removing all the errors, program will execute successfully. From the previous example, it clearly shows that compiler will generate the executable code at once, while interpreter translates the source code into executable code, line by line. With this animation you can easily understand how compiler and interpreter will translate the user code. It clearly shows that interpreter is translating the code line by line and also execute that line of code at the same time. Now here I am taking another example to demonstrate how interpreter will generate the executable code line by line. For this again I am using online GDB compiler. We have a piece of code written in Python language. Here in this piece of code I have intentionally placed some errors in the code. When we run that program it shows an error at line number 1 because of incorrect spelling of print. Now if I remove the error from line number 1 and run that program again, the program will execute it successfully. If I am giving input to this program and then press enter, what will happen? It shows the error at line number 3. So this example shows the clear difference between compiler and interpreter, where compiler will generate the code only when all the errors have been removed. On the other side, interpreter will generate the code for all those line of codes which are free from the error and not waiting for the entry program to be error-free. Now I am removing the error from line number 3 also and then run that program again. The rest of the line of code will also get executed. It means interpreter generates the code line by line. Now I'll come to the other differences. Errors have been generated for the entire program after compilation. For interpreter, errors have been generated for an individual instruction if any. Compiler generates intermediate code. On the other hand, interpreter doesn't generates any intermediate code. It generates target code only. Compiler generated code execute faster. Program execution is slow with interpreter. Memory requirement is more with compiler, while interpreter requires less memory space. Programming languages like C, C++, C# uses compiler. Programming languages like Python, Ruby, Perl, PHP uses interpreter. Now the last type of translator is assembler. Translate user program or instructions written in assembly language to the program in machine code. Examples of assemblers are GNU, Motorola MC6800.